So I'll start things off. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 orders suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So the first, before I get to that, we have 2 sets of minutes to go through. Has everyone had a chance to go through those?
Yep.
Some heads shaking. Does anyone, let's see. Anyone have any changes they'd like to propose to the meetings of March 11, 2021? Not hearing any. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written? And is there a second?
Second.
Thank
Right,
you.
Watson.
And Melissa?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, the minutes of April 1st, 2021. Anyone have any edits or changes they'd like to see? Okay, not seeing any. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as written? And a second?
Second.
Okay.
Melissa?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yep.
Okay, first public hearing tonight, continued ANRAD for 0 Southville Road. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a continued public hearing on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for a project located at 0 Southville Road, map 5, lot 8, for the applicant JAH Properties. The project description is confirmation of resource area boundaries. Melissa, could you remind me where we sit with this right now? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
We were waiting for the spring to determine if there was any flooding. That was concerned that there was other areas that may qualify, but since then they've gone out and I believe have come to terms that the existing plan and where the flags were remains true.
Okay, great. And Matt, you've now had an opportunity to see the site without snow cover and any
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, so there was sort of one area that was in question that we had chatted about while, sort of still in the winter season. And that was the area that I really wanted to wait until some sort of a spring thaw, reasonable sized storm to confirm that area wasn't in fact mean annual high water. So I went back out on the site on an appropriate day after a rainstorm, after the snow was all gone, and there was no flow or even really much flooding in that area. So I think the most recent plan that showed the mean annual high water coincident with bank in that area is accurate. And I think the plan at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, is fully up to date on any changes that we had, and it should be all set.
Correct.
Okay, it sounds like we have what we need, but if Mr. Bellick would there's anything he'd like to bring up with the commission, we'd love
Hi,
to.
Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Wayne Bellick, Land Design Collaborative. Again, I want to thank you folks, and Matt, for your work on this project. I know this has been a long time coming, several years, a couple of years before we got involved. And we do appreciate the work that you've done. And it's been, like I said, it's been several months. I know one of the questions the commission had as we were looking at this project was, what are you looking to do out here? So we're still working on that. As I said at the last meeting several months ago, the client and their finance group were a little wigged out with COVID. And I tuned in as this started, and it sounded like Melissa had received her COVID shot and is probably having some ill effects. So they were a little wigged out. They wanted to get through, wanted to know where we were going to be tonight. And I think that with that, I'm going to be following up with them and discussing, where we're going next. And once I figure that out or find that out, I'll be in touch with Melissa. I know that was a question the commission had at one point. So we very much owe that to you. You guys, like I said, have been great. You've been very patient with this project, as I've expressed on numerous occasions before. So we do appreciate the work you've done on this.
Thank you, Mr. Bellick. Before I look for a motion here, I'd just like to poll the audience. If there's anybody in attendance who'd like to offer questions, comments, or concerns about the project, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and Melissa will promote you up.
There are no hands.
Okay. So it looks like we are looking for a motion to close the hearing. Anybody be inclined?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Melissa, could you do the honors?
Watson? I think you're on mute.
Yes.
There we go. Smith?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Guyer?
Yes.
Gregory?
Yes.
Wittes?
Yes.
Okay, and do we have, I don't recall, excuse me, seeing it in the folder, do we have conditions all drawn up already that?
It's an ORAD, so it really doesn't have conditions. It's just putting in the plan. So it is ready though.
Okay, so do we have a motion to what do we issue for an ANRAD? I can't remember what it's called.
Order of resource area.
Order of resource
delineation.
area delineation. Thank you. A motion to issue an order of resource area delineation for 0 Southville Road.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Melissa.
Watson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Guyer?
Yes.
Gregory?
Yes.
Wittes?
Yes.
All right. Wayne, I'll probably get this off to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. Again, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Thank you to the commission, and again, to Matt for a job well done. And like I said, we'll be circling back to you folks once I get information back from the client on what they're looking to do.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. Take care.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Scott Jordan from Ecotech. I also want to thank the commission, and I want to thank Matt for putting in the extra effort on this. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night. Okay, what time do we have? We are exactly on schedule. I've got 7:10. The next hearing up is 41 Oregon Road. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a continued public hearing on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 7:10 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a notice of intent for a project located at 41 Oregon Road, map 16, lot 12, for the applicant Scott Ledger. The project description is construction of a garage within the buffer zone. And as I recall it, we had requested some changes to the plans, and it looks like those changes have been made. Let's see, Scott, are you here?
Yeah, so Scott Goddard here from Goddard Consulting, and Steve Ledger is also on the phone as well, who's the applicant. The requests for additional modifications were made. Drainage was added. The drainage design was added. The infiltration system is now shown on the plan. I could share the screen if you'd like me to do that, but I think that was the last item outstanding on this. So all the runoff is being infiltrated into the ground from the new activities out there.
Okay, Matt, do you have any further comment after reviewing the latest changes?
No, I have nothing further.
Okay, I was able to go quickly through the drainage calcs and the changes to the drainage plans. Specifically, I was adding some detail to the rooftop infiltration system. It's not actually manufactured by Coltech, but a system similar to that, and it's built with more than enough capacity. In addition to mitigating the typical 1 inch of runoff for the impervious areas, it's also mitigating peak flows. So they certainly hit the standard of meeting the stormwater standards to the maximum extent practicable from what I saw. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns from members of the commission?
Just wanted to confirm a statement that was made in, I think, the NOI. So 100% of the garage and the new pavement areas on previously disturbed area, is that correct?
There's no woodlands being cleared, so it's not all degraded. Some of it's like lawn, landscape kind of areas as well.
Okay, but it's all either lawn or degraded, previously paved kind of surface.
Correct.
No woodland space.
Correct.
Okay.
And if memory serves, there's a net decrease, not very large, but a net decrease in impervious area. Is that correct?
Steve, do you know the answer to that question?
I net decrease, and well, that area in the back is all impervious, or
Yeah. Okay.
so.
Yeah. I believe we heard that at the last meeting. I believe I saw it in the drainage report a few days ago, and I was able to go through it.
Okay.
Anything else from the commission? Okay, if there are any members of the public here with us tonight who would like to offer questions or comments about this project, please use the raise hand function with Zoom, and Melissa will promote you.
I don't see any hands.
Okay. So it looks like we are ready for a motion to close the public hearing for 41 Oregon Road. Somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Melissa?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer. You're on mute. Sorry, Carl.
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I saw in the folder that Melissa has already prepared special conditions that cover everything we discussed at the last meeting, and I don't believe we've added anything to that this evening. So I believe those are ready to be voted on unless anyone has any proposed changes or edits that they'd like to make to that document.
I have just a couple.
Yes.
I sent you a quick note on this earlier. One is incredibly picky, but unfortunately that's how my brain works. Item 6 on the factor findings, there's a typo. It should be pushed and not push.
Yep, I fixed that.
Okay.
It's already here.
And then I just wonder, I mean, there's a lot of very specific timelines in these order of conditions as we would normally have. And I'm just wondering on item 8, that speaks to on the corners of the garage closest to the 20-foot stabilization shall occur as soon as possible. I just feel that as soon as possible is a little vague. Maybe we could give a specific timeline, 48 hours, 72 hours after the start of the work or prior to construction. It just seems a little out of sync with the rest of the document.
Steve, do you think it's reasonable that once the foundation is poured, so before framing starts, that at least some stabilization happens on that slope?
Yes, as soon as it's inspected by the building commissioner, we'd backfill right away, which I mean, it's stable otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to other commissioners? I think the timeline might be difficult, but I think having, the statement of just once the foundation is poured and approved by the building commissioner, stabilization shall occur immediately afterwards.
Immediately afterwards, I'm okay with. Our standard condition is I believe it's 2 weeks, isn't it?
It's 2 weeks if no work is going to be happening on the site. I think this was a little bit different. We had talked about just because the steep drop off right there, the 20-foot.
It's so close to the wetland.
Correct.
I'm fine with immediately afterwards, or I take Judith's point, and within 48 hours, I think would also be appropriate to actually assign a time to it.
Okay, I think I'll do 48. That's usually the immediate, within 2 days. So I think that makes more reasonable sense.
Is everybody else generally on board with that? Sounds like it. Judith, any other edits?
No, that was just it.
Before I look for a motion, anybody else? Okay, do we have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended here this evening?
So moved.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. And Melissa?
Watson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Pete.
Yep.
Kyer.
Yes.
Gregory.
Yes.
Wittes. Yep. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, good. Thank you all. And
Thank you.
if you could you leave me live for the next hearing, please?
Got it.
Okay. We're ahead of schedule. We've got to wait 1 minute.
I'll just start moving people in first now.
Okay, by my watch, we now have 7:20. In accordance with the provisions of the Southborough Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw, Southborough Zoning Code, Chapter 174, Section 13.5, Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will hold continued public hearings on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 7:20 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting on the petition of Silverleaf Homes LLC for the demolition of existing buildings and construction of 2 new single-family homes at 192 Woodland Road, map 9, parcel 24 and 28. These hearings are being held concurrently.
So you have Scott Goddard Consulting, you have Kevin O'Leary from Gilson Engineering, and you have Derek Wheeler, the applicant in this particular case. Kevin, do you want to start it off, or do you want me to?
I could go through the quick plan changes and the additional information my office supplied in the past couple of weeks. From the last meeting, we had worked on a infiltration basin detail, which is provided on a detail sheet. It's now a 3-sheet submission packet. The other sheet is an existing conditions for clarity purposes. And on the detail sheet shows construction notes, specifications, and details. The site development plan, which is the first sheet, remains mostly the same or unchanged. We've added a vernal pool to it pursuant to our site walk several weeks ago. I think that a couple notes, some planting notes for the area within 50 feet of the vernal pool. And a planting schedule in note form or table form. And I think that's it. The houses, everything remains the same, the driveway locations and configurations. So it was just adding all this additional information for review and processing.
Can I share my screen? Is that okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So I think hopefully you can all see that. So today earlier was a small packet of supplemental information, which was simply just a written response to Matt's comments. And this was asked for to be in the record. There's not new content in here that wasn't discussed at the last meeting, so this is more administrative. We discussed the overall changes to the program last time from existing to proposed conditions. And I believe there was a consensus that we were looking at kind of a net benefit situation for Riverfront area. So the substance of the supplemental level letter really involves 2 graphics, an existing and a proposed graphic that I added. So I'm going to walk you through those briefly. So this is basically a riverfront area analysis. There was a question about whether we're looking, the whole redevelopment, new development discussion we were having and how to treat lawn, et cetera. So this is the existing riverfront area. Okay, you got the brook itself. Everything you see in brown on this is the, I'll call it undeveloped or natural riverfront area, and the existing impervious surfaces, degraded surfaces, as it were, are these gray areas. The green is what's existing for lawn. So the table up above in the legend tells us the total areas that we're dealing with. So the 88,277 is the total. So that's just about 2 acres of that entire area that you see shaded in here. And of that 27,000 and change undeveloped, we have the lawn, which is the 53,000. And we have 7,700 of previously degraded surfaces. So that classifies all the different land cover types of existing conditions. And this is the same image overlaying with the proposed conditions. Again, obviously this strips off all the engineering details and whatnot, but the brown, which is the undisturbed riverfront area, is all staying the same, with the one exception of this area right here, which is a temporary disturbance of 1,200 square feet for grading and then being restored back to natural after the grading for the driveway occurs. The proposed degraded areas, which is what's in gray here, obviously removes, this house is removed, the house that was down here is pulled back, the shed's gone, and it's now been reduced to 6,900 square feet. So there's about a 900 square foot reduction in impervious surface, and it's pulled further away from the river over existing conditions. That in and of itself satisfies the redevelopment standards on site. In addition, as we talked about last time, we have a stormwater management feature, which is right in here. It's shown here as lawn and stormwater management considered kind of together, although stormwater features can be exempted from the riverfront calculations. And then everything that you see here in yellow is areas that are currently lawn, which are going to be allowed to be revegetated. The plan as it stands right now will allow them to grow back out and just do 1 or 2 times a year mowing for a kind of a naturalized meadow environment. But the managed lawn associated with the house is the area that we have outlined here in green. So there's a a 30,000 square foot area that's currently not lawn, that currently is lawn, that will then no longer be lawn. So that's almost like 3/4 of an acre. So we have the reduction in impervious surface, we have the reduction in lawn, we have the addition of stormwater management features, and we have the pulling further away from the riverfront area. If there was a question about new development activities within undeveloped riverfront area, I would classify that as this little sliver of 1,200 square feet of land. So those two graphics are really the substance of what was in the supplemental letter. The others were simply a written narrative that accompanied the verbal responses that we gave at the meeting 2 weeks ago, and I don't think need to be gone over. But more or less, we're acknowledging that there's a potential vernal pool area up in here. We're not further degrading the areas in the buffer zones of the vernal pool. That was one of the comments. There was some comments about what we're going to do about this culvert right in here. So there's a culvert that's obviously buffer zone that connects this wetland to this wetland, and that culvert. And Kevin, you can jump in if I misspeak here, but we have underground utilities that have to be put in up through this driveway. So there will be a need to remove the existing culverts, and like when the field they appear to be two 12-inch corrugated metal pipes. And then those pipes will come out. The likelihood of them being salvaged is very small because corrugated metal pipes they tend to rot in place, and then they have the ability to get crushed when you remove them. So there will be in the dry season, there'll be a trench dug within the footprint of the driveway, and new culverts will be set in place and then backfilled on top of the driveway. The footprint
Scott,
of that will remain the same. Yeah, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could add to that, the proposal is not to replace the culvert, and there's only one culvert that drains the wetland area to the north, to the stream channel in the south, and then on into the river. It is 12-inch corrugated metal, and the plan is to run a proposed water line under that culvert without damaging it or compromising it. And the pipe's down about, I think it's got 2.5 feet of cover over the top of it. So the bottom of the pipe's about 3.5 feet down, and you need the water line at least down 5 feet. So we're providing approximately a foot or more of clear separation between the proposed water line and the bottom of the culvert. The intent is to not disturb the culvert, examine it while we're out there in construction, but not replace it. It's we want to maintain it in site or in place on site.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, for that clarification. So that's the substance of everything that was discussed last time and all that we have to present this evening.
Thank you, Scott. Matt, have you had the opportunity to review these new materials? I know I first got them at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. I don't know how things have gone for you, but have you had a chance to look this over?
No, I haven't looked at any of the new information on this project since it was received.
Okay.
And would like the opportunity to do so.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for my part, I would really like to hear your input on it. Any questions, comments, or concerns from members of the commission? Okay. If there are any, excuse me?
I was just going to ask Matt again. So it sounded like there weren't substantial changes beyond sort of what was described last week. I think there was some questions about, some definitions and did we ask for some feedback and to have a few things looked into?
Yeah, Jeff, I think from what Mr. Goddard described, it sounds as though the requests that were made as far as delineating degraded riverfront area per the definition, undisturbed riverfront area, and then sort of this in-between area Sounds like that's been addressed in these figures, and presumably on the plans. So I think from what was described, and again, without having looked at any of the actual submissions, I feel as though the comments have been addressed and the proof will be in the pudding, but I don't see any red flags based on the descriptions given.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think the big question was whether or not this can be treated as redevelopment under the Rivers Protection Act. And at least the concern that I had was in projects with some similarity in the past, we had not treated it as a redevelopment project. And the consequence of that is that an alternatives analysis is required in that circumstance. And I'll say for my part, I haven't had the chance to go through this in depth. As I said, I got it about 4 o'clock this afternoon. I just didn't have the time. But my first impression of this is that, for my part, I suspect that it is unlikely that an alternative would be developed that would be more beneficial to the riverfront area habitat than what we see before us. So I may be jumping the gun here because I do genuinely want to hear what Matt's observations are after he has a chance to look through it. But if there were a way for us to find a distinction between this project and others that are superficially similar, so we're not backing ourselves into a corner precedent-wise, perhaps we could find a way to approve this project without, a lot of engineering work that, may not.
If I could give a brief response to that, the alternatives analysis language specifically calls for consideration of alternatives that have a lesser adverse impact on the riverfront area when we have what's our specific definitions for what qualifies as adverse impacts. We have a presumption of no adverse impact when you have for new development, the 5,000 square feet or 10% of alteration, there's a presumption of no adverse impact. For redevelopment project, when the project betters the existing conditions, there's a presumption of no adverse impact. So if there's an improvement rather than an adverse impact being proposed, the purpose of the alternatives analysis, I think, is moot in some capacity, because when you're evaluating options to say which one has less adverse impact, it's not a question of which one is the most positive impact. It's which is the least adverse impact. So in this particular case, we're improving over existing conditions. So by definition, I think it satisfies any potential alternative that could be proposed that would meet the no adverse impact standards of 10%, 5,000 square feet, redevelopment, et cetera. In other words, I believe there's versions of this project that could have been proposed to the commission that would have more permanent impact on the riverfront area and still meet the standards. So I think this gets us there.
Thank you, Scott. And also, I should have acknowledged this previously. But what we had asked for, the delineations and quantifications of the various areas of disturbance and protection and so forth, have been provided to us in a very clear fashion. So thank you for doing that, and it is of great assistance. Let's see. Before we go any further here, I'd like to see if there's anybody from the public who's here this evening who wishes to offer questions, comments, or concerns about this project. And if there are, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and Melissa will promote you so that you can speak.
I do not see any hands.
Thank you, Melissa. So again, for my part, I'd like to have Matt have an opportunity to look through this and to share his observations with us, and perhaps if it seems appropriate to him, help us maybe with some language that would differentiate this project in such a way that we're not, shooting ourselves in the foot with future projects. if other commissioners have any input on that, I would love to hear.
I agree with you, Ben. Would like an opportunity to go through all the material and also hear Matt's comments. And then, yeah, hopefully not box us in is a great way to say that. My other question was, Melissa, do you have this plan that is being shown?
I think that's in the
It is.
one.
Yep.
Okay, that's in the packet that I think I emailed out.
Okay,
Yep.
just check.
Hey, anybody else? Okay, so yeah, again, we got this at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and not only Matt, but the rest of us really haven't had the chance to go through it in any great detail. So I think we're looking at a continuance until the next our next scheduled meeting. This is okay with the applicant? We on board with this here?
Yes,
Scott?
as his engineer, yes.
Okay.
This is Derek Wheeler, the applicant. It's understood. You guys need the time to review it. So
thank you. Thank you. So in that case, I'm looking for a motion to continue to, I'm sorry, Melissa, I can't recall the date of the next hearing. May 3rd? No, May. I'm sorry, you're on mute.
13th, I believe.
13th, you say?
Yes.
Okay, so is there a motion to continue to May 13th?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And Melissa?
Mr. Chairman, could I make a request if possible?
Sure.
If it seems likely that this would be approved at the next meeting, in order to save the time for the purpose of the applicant, could the draft order of conditions be potentially available for signatures at that hearing?
It's something that we can't make an absolute promise of, but Melissa, using your judgment and if your schedule allows, if excuse me, if it appears to you likely that this is something that we can address in one last hearing, would you be able to perhaps?
Yes, depending on what Matt's review comes back with, if I have enough language or, depending on what the commission's, but as long as we have enough information to set standard conditions, and I've been doing them in the same night.
Yeah, typically you do. So yeah, we can't promise for sure, but I think there'd be a very good likelihood of that, Scott.
No, I appreciate it. It just saves us the extra time. So that's all.
You bet.
Thank you.
And Ben, I would just note that DEP has not issued a file number yet. So
Okay.
Presumably the applicant has submitted all this new information to DEP because clearly they had an interest in this project.
That's right. I thank you for reminding us. I've excuse me, forgotten that.
Yeah, we'll have to pursue DEP a bit more aggressively to get that file number. They have been delinquent on a number of projects. They're overwhelmed at their office. I understand. So.
Okay.
All right, are we ready for roll call really quickly?
I believe we have a motion and a second. Yes.
Yep. So Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Winnis.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good evening. Next up, Melissa, it sounded like 5 Nathanstone Way would be seeking a continuation. Is that the case?
Correct.
It is. Okay. So looking for, do I have to, yeah, I've got to open the hearing in order to do that. So real quickly, in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a continued public hearing on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a notice of intent for a project located at 5 Nathanstone Lane, map 10, lot 100, for the applicant Nick Antonopoulos. The project description is expansion of lawn into the buffer zone. Do we have a motion to continue this public hearing to our May 13th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Melissa.
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete.
Yep.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
All right.
All right, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too, Scott. All right, that's it for public hearings. Next up, a potential violation at 1 Lynbrook Road, stockpiling and grading concerns.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen. I sent this little graphic to the homeowner. I've had some initial discussions with him. It's really just been one email he's kind of sent back, so I'm kind of struggling with the communication aspect of it. But there's been some stockpiles of just, I don't know if it's just loam, but it's kind of rocky. I've noticed they seem to be moving around. They kind of go from 1 to 2, back to 1. And there also looked like there was just some, I don't know if it was just scraping up of the stockpile. So there's some soil disturbance kind of right in this area. I got their email from a building permit. They're doing some internal interior work. So there's a dumpster here too. But I'm just, I guess, struggling with one, communication and how the commission might want to deal with this situation. In initial contact, they said that the piles had been there for over 40 years, but I'm not sure if maybe there was some miscommunication, him thinking that I was talking about kind of the woody debris that's always been out in this triangle, the corner of Main and Lynbrook. So I have sent subsequent emails asking for some more information on what the plans are. He did also state that the plan was to put down some meadow mix when they were done, but again, I'm not sure if maybe he was misunderstanding and thinking that I was talking about here, because I think they're doing some chipping work as well. So I wanted to get the commission's thoughts. I don't know if anyone has seen this kind of in their travels as well.
I've seen some, I think some equipment in that general area. I believe a mini excavator at various points, but I haven't
seen them. Yeah, I haven't seen them doing actual work, but every time I drive by, it seems to be a different configuration of stockpiles. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I drive by.
Yeah.
I drive by it every day, Ben. I'm sorry. It had grass, or it didn't look as unearthed as it does now. So that was the initial concern I had. There's just no erosion control. And then
if there's, it sounds like there may be some confusion as to which stockpiles, as you say, are being spoken of. I know up at the corner, up near, closer to the corner of the intersection there have been stockpiles there as long as I've been in town here. But this graphic right here, if this could be attached to an email, just to, maybe you've already done this.
Yeah, this is what I made this to send them to him. I did invite him to the meeting tonight, but I haven't gotten any response. I got one response after a couple attempts, after I said I'd be following up kind of with a physical letter. So I think at this point, I just need some guidance of how the commission wants me to pursue this. If it is just putting erosion controls down on the water side of the stockpiles, or something more.
Did you ask to meet with him in person, like at the site?
I don't know if I asked to meet, but I did, stipulate that, oh, hold on, Mark is in the attendees. Give me a second. That I'd be happy to talk with him and come to talk with the commission, but I don't see him in the waiting room at all.
I guess one idea would be to ask for the installation of erosion controls, maybe in the form of straw wattles or something, with an explanation that this fairly simple and inexpensive measure can save the headache of, potential enforcement order coming before the commission and dealing with all of that. I think it's maybe try some official correspondence from the commission noting that it appears there may be a violation that is, fairly easily curable, and maybe highlight the potential next steps if it continues as a violation. I guess I'd love to hear input from the rest of the commission before we go forward with something like that. Does anyone else have other ideas or feelings on the matter?
Just for clarification, I'm looking at the diagram. Is the stockpile? I can't tell where his boundary is exactly. Is the stockpile?
The yellow line is the property line.
Which, pardon me?
The yellow line is the property line. Is that what you were getting to?
So he's extending his stockpiles outside his property line?
It was a thought. I'm not completely sure.
Okay, yeah, because it's not clear here. Because,
yeah, I know this is also, I think the aerials, this is from 2008, so I'm not, the trees are a little bit sparser, I think, there now. So I also, if the commission's okay, I can definitely forward this to DCR because I think that would be their property. So they can kind of move forward that way if it is on their property. I think another thing is I don't know where the stockpiles are coming from. I know he runs a landscaping business, so I'm not sure if he's storing things there and if it'll be happening more consistently in the future.
Yeah, I was going to mention that I thought that there was a landscaping operation or something that had been run out of this property for quite some time. I do know that they added a pool to this property at some point in the not too distant past that didn't used to be there. And I think maybe the arrow on the bottom right is going through the pool, possibly.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I remember that most of the stuff that they had there was, to the east of the buildings and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's why, it mostly been in the triangle area, all the wood chips and the debris, but now they have some pretty large stockpiles, in my opinion.
What is the material, do you know?
I don't know if it's like a rocky loam, so I don't know exactly what it is. So it doesn't look, like pristine top loam, but it's definitely rocky. So I don't know if he's pulling it out from somewhere, if he's doing excavating work and stockpiling it there. I'm just not sure. I've tried couple times to just understand a little bit better, but the communication back and forth has been difficult. So I can pursue harder if the commission is okay with that, I guess, before I made that next step. I just wanted to make sure that that you all kind of agreed that this was the appropriate action as well.
I know, Melissa, you've been going back and forth and communication has been difficult, but to Ben's point, are we aligned on the stockpile? Is he aware that this is a stockpile you're referring to and not the ones that were in the triangle?
Yeah, I sent this to him earlier this week and I haven't received any response.
I think there may be a clue there.
Yeah. So, because I did think that there was some miscommunication, because he was like, oh, it's been there for 40 years. So I'm like, oh, he must think it's out here. So I put this together to help better kind of moving forward since I wasn't getting any other feedback.
So I think a light bulb has gone off. That's probably why I haven't heard.
Yeah, I think, even if the stockpile is going to be moved or discontinued or so, whatever, some erosion controls, we're not talking a crazy amount here, but need to be put in just while that work takes place and the ground is stabilized. Whatever the source, it may, maybe it's spoils from the pool excavation, or they've been doing a lot of work on the property. It's on my running route, and I noticed they've been really neatening up the property, and it looks good. I think this is one last attempt at communication with, proposing what really I think is a pretty easy fix to keep this from turning into more of a mess.
Okay. Do you want me to invite him to the next meeting again in hopes that we can have a better discussion back and forth with the commission as a whole to understand the future of the property?
I think that would be really helpful. It may be a question of just not understanding that there's a difference between riverfront area and wetlands buffer. Not everyone is familiar with that. And if you were able to attend a Zoom meeting just for, a little bit, we could all get on the same page here. Prevent this from blowing up into anything. How does everybody else feel about that strategy? Is that
I think it's a good strategy. I think that we may get a response from them once they grok what Melissa has sent them, is my guess. They just probably haven't figured out how to respond just yet. They've had this, maybe 3 days?
Yeah, I've sent him probably an email or two a week for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, when did they get this drawing from you?
I think on Tuesday, but I can double check that.
Yeah, so a couple days ago?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, certainly if you don't hear back from them, maybe by this time next week, I'd invite them.
Okay. All right, and in the meantime, just ask them to put erosion controls out.
And
Sounds
were
like
you
a
going to go ahead and reach out to DCR?
Yeah, sure.
That was a question.
Yes.
okay? So no vote needed there, and Mark is now in attendance, so I will hand the reins back over.
So I assume that your next up is number 2 on new and continued business? Okay.
Correct.
I don't know if you've gone in chronological order or not. All right, so a request for administrative change, DEP 290-1033, 22 Lovers Lane. So this is a change of the location of the septic?
A little bit of the house location. The gray is what the original house was approved by the commission, and the dark black line is what the new proposed house will be. So they are making the house about 500 square feet smaller. And it's basically the same, sort of location. This is a little bit farther back, but it's still kind of in line with everything else that was previously approved. And I think they just moved around the septic a little bit to be better for the site. So very minor changes.
Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. Anybody have any issues or questions with this one?
I'm sorry, I'm just not seeing it on the plan. Where's the? Oh, never mind. I couldn't find the edge of buffer zone. I found it. Never mind. No questions for me.
I think we just need a motion to, accept the administrative change here. In a second, and then a vote.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor by roll call vote?
Watson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Guyer?
Yes.
Gregory?
Yes.
Wittes?
Yes.
Pasmato?
Yes. Okay, next is request for extension of an order of conditions. They're asking for 3 years. This is DEP 290-1024, 229 Parkerville Road. Is this the one that's right next to 84 Main?
No, this is on the other side of Route 9.
Oh, my side. I should know that. Where's 229?
229, it's actually by the school. I'm totally lying. It's by the school.
It's almost across from Mooney Lane, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of backstory, or is it they just haven't had the
They
opportunity?
haven't gone forward. The homeowner was diagnosed with cancer after we first got his approval, so they just haven't been.
Oh, yeah, I remember this now, yes.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't previously recorded, but he did provide me with a check, and it's been recorded since, so he can get the extension recorded against it as well.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? No? All right, do you hear a motion to extend the order conditions for 3 years?
The move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes,
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
Pasamato.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, number 4 is a request for certificate of compliance, Leeds Way. Is that
We are
on or not?
going- It is not on,
Okay.
and 32 Boston is not either.
Not on. This may be my shortest meeting ever.
Well, I do have one other thing, another violation. It's on 155 Main Street, which is on the corner of Main and Johnson. And come to find out, it's the same family of one Lynbrook. So they have been clearing out some debris in this area. Let me turn the wetlands on so you can see it a little bit better, hopefully. So you can kind of tell it's kind of wet all in this area. So I don't know if they have cleared within a wetland resource area, but they've at least cleared up some woody debris pretty much right up to it at the very least. So my next plan is to send them a letter as well. I had kind of asked the one for one Lynbrook if they had any information because it did seem to be the same landscaping and family and got no response on that. So I think I'm just going to go directly to a letter for this one. I think this one will be a little bit more heavy-handed because of the extent of the clearing. So I don't know if anyone has seen this in their travels again too. I think Sherry.
I don't get out much anymore.
Yeah.
Sherry, you must have been by there.
I've seen it. Yeah, I'm the one who I think called it out because it's pretty. I'd be shocked if they're not in the wetland. It's like debris, skunk cabbage. You know, it's
Oh,
really.
Yeah, and there seemed to be looking kind of from the road. I don't know if there is an old rock or boulder wall or if it's just kind of naturally that way. That seems to be at the edge of kind of the lawn where it then becomes the depressed area. So they've kind of gone on the other side of that rocky kind of wall. So I think like Sherry said, there's definitely a possibility that they're in wetland resources.
I mean, it looks like they could have been trying to get out all the bittersweet and, you know, maybe no ill intent, but.
Have you seen them doing the work themselves, Sherry? Like, I just don't know how they're doing it, if they're doing it by machine or by hand, because they're pretty big piles. I mean, it's big woody debris that they've kind of stockpiled there. So I would be surprised if it was just by hand, but I would also be impressed.
I would be super impressed myself. And can they come over to my house? Like, yeah. No, I haven't seen it. I just, every day we drive by either up that street or down the other, and that looks really close.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if the commission's okay with me moving forward, I think I'm just going to go straight to a hard letter copy and asking them to cease and desist and stabilize and come to our next meeting, or I can stipulate now to most likely hire a professional wetland scientist to assess the area to see what any impacts have happened.
I guess I would be in favor of the, you know, the letter, letting them know the severity of what's going on and asking them to come in and speak with the commission. And if we don't have any success with that, then we move on to enforcement order, wetland scientist, and that whole.
Okay.
But I think if we could, you know, let them know that we're, you know, what the consequences are of you know, ignoring the problem, maybe we can head this off before it gets too terrible.
sounds good.
All right.
Melissa, you a little warm?
Yeah. I'm having some problems tonight. It's okay.
Okay.
Chills, sweats, it's fine. We're good.
Oh, feel bad for you. Sorry.
It's okay. It'll be over soon.
Hey, anything else tonight?
Not that I have.
I just, one quick question. I don't mean to keep you, Melissa. This will be really quick. You know, somebody asked me the other day just what the status is on the Chestnut Hill Farm draft management plan for the commission.
I haven't heard anything from them regarding this. I think they've been kind of busy with the barn project. I think that's on its way. So definitely going to, I think the goal was for at the very least July, start to really having conversations with the various entities to start getting, reviewing the old draft and see what needs to be updated. So I think by the middle of the year, that should be full underway, but I'll reach out to, I think Mike Francis from the trustees was going to be spearheading that. So I'll see if that timeline is still applicable for him or if we can get started sooner.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Paul has something.
Oh,
Yeah, one thing, I saw Melissa's notes about the Breakneck Hill, the dump, and the survey that they're doing. Right, I was a little underwhelmed by what I saw. I was looking more for a plan for correction, so we could actually go forward with requests for funding. This looks like, to me, it looks like from a distance that we just want to make sure it's there. We know it's there. Right, the Board of Health has said it's need to be cleaned up. Is that we move forward with actual quotes from LSPs? I mean, I think the commission should drive this. That
well, Carl, I need to hedge off. It's not on the agenda. Right, we can't get into a lot of detail. Right, so Melissa's working some things.
Mark, you keep refusing to put this on the agenda. And
no, I'm not.
Run around with this. I mean,
I'm not. There's activity going on in the town hall, and we're getting it lined up and queued up to come in here. And it's going to come in here.
Can we get an update on when we're going to see a plan?
It's getting worked, and it'll be queued up to come in here.
This has been almost 3 years now.
Carl, there's been some issues with retiring and some other things going on, and Board of Health members moving around and some changes. So, you know, it's working its way through. It's going to come in here, but we can't have a deep discussion on this without being public notice.
All right, can we put it on the agenda so we can actually talk about it?
Yep, it will be on soon.
Next meeting?
I can't commit to that.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we get it on the agenda for the next meeting, that we force it. I mean, I think we can vote to have it on the agenda.
Sure, but you know, we have to have some talking points and some things to have it on there with, right? Well, and Melissa's making some headway on this, and I'd like her to feel. I'm sorry, what?
Talking points. We got legal issues.
Carl, I'm not getting into this. I'm not. Is there anything else tonight?
Not for me.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Watson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Pete.
Yep.
Geyer.
Yes.
Gregory.
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
Pasmato.
Yes.
All right, we are.
Melissa, I hope you feel better. Get some rest.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going back to bed.
Record for the meeting. Good job, guys.